Hey, how are you, friends? This is your friend from Motivation Mastermind. Today I've got a great message for you, so stick with us, and I hope that you love what we got to share. Ben Hooper was born in a time when being fatherless placed a tremendous stigma on a child, especially in rural Tennessee. He was bullied and chastised openly at school and in the streets, and people remember that he seemed to be despondent and unhappy and sad. However, he went to church and he liked the messages, but often he escaped from the back pew at the end of the service to avoid the looks of the people. And obviously some of these people probably needed a little more Sunday school. One day he got overwhelmed listening to the message and he was caught on the back pew after the service. He stayed a little too long listening to the new preacher. The preacher approached him as everyone looked and said, "You're a fine young man. I've seen you around town. Who's your father?" There were long stares, there was a long pause, and then there was snickers. The preacher sensed something, and he said, "I know who you are. The resemblance is undeniable. You are of the family of God. Go and live up to your name." That day, Ben said he was changed and empowered forever. That was a day that a future governor of Tennessee was born. Ben learned to think differently about himself, and he transitioned into a leader. Today my message is about positive self-talk and why it has a place in the mind of anyone who seeks to do better, to do more, and feel more positivity in their life. Much of this content is from a book written by Dr. Shad Helmstetter, who is an expert in the field of neuroscience. You may find additional videos or links in my notes below. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share in support of our efforts. We've learned that from the field of neuroscience that because of the brain's neuroplasticity, its ability to continue to change itself through your lifetime, the most important chemical process necessary to wiring or rewiring your brain is repetition. The brain is desired to pay attention to and store the messages that are repeated most often. A message your brain receives only once will be stored in your brain's short-term memory, only briefly. It doesn't become wired in, so to speak, to your brain's long-term storage files. But when that same message is repeated frequently, usually over time, your brain begins to form new neural connections. It wires the new message into and connects it with the vast neural networks of your conscious and unconscious mind. This is science. It is because the brain stores messages that are repeated that we end up believing what we believe about most everything, as we saw in the example that I've shared before with Ben. It's also because the brain stores and wires in repeated messages that you end up believing things about you that you tell yourself most often. The complete you that you believe in you are today is the combined result of years of messages, both from the world around you and, most importantly, your own self-talk. Whatever messages you got from the world you live in, combined with what your experiences have caused you to say to yourself in your own self-talk, have created everything you believe to be true about yourself today. Some of the messages your brain received about you may have been true, but many messages your brain received are not true at all. And together, these messages through repetition have created what you believe about yourself, your life, all of your opinions, and everything you believe about who you are today is a result of the repetition of the messages to your brain. If the programming of the brain is based on repetition, and if your self-talk is negative, what is the only outcome that you can predict? Conversely, controlling our thoughts and self-talk can make miraculous changes in our lives. Remember, we continually repeat and replay the programs we get most often. And the strongest program always wins. The key to failure is the repetition of a belief in failure. Negative self-talk is the repetition of a belief in failure. At one time, skeptics believed that positive thinking was nothing more than wishful thinking. And that idea of positive thinking was something that you could read about in a self-help book. But they believed it wouldn't really make your life any better. However, subsequent brain research has shown an entirely different story. People who have trained their brains to think in positive ways actually wire more neural networks to the left prefrontal cortex of their brain. That's a part of the brain that helps you seek options and alternatives and helps you to find a better way to deal with problems and puts you into positive action. Now, how can you change the environment around you so that you can learn to have more positive inputs despite all the many negative inputs that we have from social media, as well as the radio, as well as people who talk around us? I encourage you to take time every day to develop yourself, whether it be in prayer or whether it be counseling with people who can look at your efforts objectively and give you positive feedback about yourself. I also encourage you to listen to good music. If you're listening to music that has a negative message, the rhythms and the sounds can also help to wire those thoughts into your minds. I encourage you also to take time to read positive material from people who talk about the good, the clean, the pure, the powerful, and the positive. I believe these things are true. I've practiced them many times in my life, and I do believe there are benefits that I have received from that. There's a lot of things that you can explore in this. I encourage you to look up self-talk, to look up positive thinking, and to believe that these things will have a wonderful impact in your life. And if you follow them, I do believe I'll see you at the top. This is your friend Scotty Nichols. We'll talk to you later. Have a great day.